Good evening, everyone. My name is Laksh, and today I will be presenting my analysis of the TouchWell store form concept and naming research. This presentation evaluates the effectiveness of the research presentation, analysis the major finding regarding the storefront concept and naming preference, and provide recommendation for service offering and center characteristic based on the research result. So let's move to the next slide agenda. So in this slide, this presentation is organized into 7 sections. I will begin with the brief executive summary followed by an evaluation of the presentation effectiveness. Next, I will discuss the overall concept appeal and the naming comparison result. After that, I will present my recommendation for services, offering and center characteristic before concluding with the key takeaway and references. So let's move to the next slide, executive summary. So Touchwell conducted this marketing research to determine whether consumer would support the idea of retail health insurance store forms. The study surveyed 800 respondents using a satisfied probability sampling method to ensure representation from different consumer groups. The research focused on four major questions. First, whether consumer found the storefront concept appealing. Second, which purpose name consumer preferred. Third, which services they valued the most. Finally, what characteristic they accept from these centers. So overall, the findings were encouraging. Consumers showed moderate to strong interest in the storefront concept, particularly when it was associated with the Touchwell brand. They also emphasized the importance of knowledgeable staff, personalized service, and convenient access. These findings provide valuable evidence that can help Touchwell make informed strategic decision with reducing the risk associated with the launching a new service concept. So let's move to the next slide. Analysis of PPT effectiveness. So in this slide, the presentation was generally effective because it used graph, percentage, and visual comparison to communicate the research finding. The chart made it easier to identify major trends and compare different consumer groups. Demographic information was also clear present, allowing manager to identify with market segment showed the greatest interest. However, I also identify several weaknesses. Some slides contain too much annotation and call out boxes, making them appear crowded. While the numerical results were present clearly, many concepts lack sufficient interpretation explaining why the findings were important from a business perspective. I believe the presentation could be improved by simplifying the visual, using a more consistent design throughout the slides, and including brief managerial summaries after each section. This improvement would help decision maker understand not only what the result should, but also how they should influence business strategy. So let's move to the next slide. So next slide will be overall concept appeal result. So in this slide, the research showed the consumer generally responded positivity to the proposed s- storefront concept. Approx 49% of respondents from the concept appealing when the concept was associated with the Touchwell brand. Positive response increased with 46%, indicating greater appeal. Around 40% report a more favorable opinion of the company, while 45% they would like to visit one of the purpose store forms. The research also identified different among consumer group. Existing TouchWell members are lower income consumer express stronger interest than other group. Additionally, respondents living in Houston and Dallas Worth area reported high level of appeal. This finding suggested that the storefront concept has significant market potential. I recommend that TouchWell initially focus on the respective consumer segment while continuing to build awareness among less engaged markets. So let's move to the next slide. Naming comparison result. One of the most important objective of the result research was determining while purpose storefront name consumer preferred. The result clearly showed that Touchwell Care Center received the highest preference rating. It was followed by Touchwell Consumer Care Center and Touchwell Neighborhood Center. The least preference opinion was Touchwell Care Car Care, Touchwell Care Cafe. The finding demonstrate the importance of consumer researching in branding decision. Although the name of Care Cafe may have surrounded innovative, many customers associated it while food or social gathering rather than healthcare services. In contrast, Touchwell was center immediately communicated professionalism, healthcare, sports, and trust. Based on the finding, I recommend adopting Touchwell Care Center as the official name because it best align with consumer expectation and strengthen the company professional image. So let's move to the next slide. Recommendation service offering. The research identified several services that consumer considered more valuable. Customer service assistant received the highest rating, followed by hearing and visual screening, billing and claim support, and blood pressure screening. So the study also found the all the wellness education program were not always rated as the most appealing services. Consumer indicated that they would use them frequently. The demonstrate as important difference between service appeal and actual usage. For this reason, I recommend that TouchWell prioritize insurance assistance, preventive health screening, wellness combination of service and services would meet immediate customer needs while encouraging repeat visit and build long-term relationships. So let's move to the next slide. Recommendation center practices. So in this slide, consumer also identifies several characteristics they considered essential for successful storefronts. The most important factor was having knowledgeable employees who could explain health insurance clearly and always answer customer question confidently. Respondents also valued friendly staff, personalized customer care, convenient location, flexible hours, private consultant rooms, and digital education resources. These finding indicates that customer experience extend beyond the service provided. The overall environment and quality of interaction strongly influence customer satisfaction and trust. Therefore, I recommend that TouchWell interest in employee training, customer relationship skills, modern digital resources, and digital facilities are create a welcoming environment for the consumers. Let's move to the next slide. Overall recommendation based on the research finding, I recommend that TouchWell moves forward with launching the storefront concept. The company should officially adopt the name TouchWell care center focus on the consumer service and preventive healthcare program, employ knowledgeable staff, and integrate digital tools with the face-to-face support. By implementing these recommendations, TouchWell can improve customer satisfaction, strengthen brand recognition, increase customer loyalty, and gain a competitive advantage in the evolving healthcare market. So, this is the conclusion. So, in conclusion, this research demonstrates the importance of marketing research in supporting business decision. The finding show the consumer are interested in the Touchwell storefront concept, particularly when supported by professional branding, high quality service, and knowledgeable employees. The study also highlights the branding decisions, service offering, and consumer experience should be always be guided by consumer research rather than assumption. Overall, by applying this result, applying this result research finding, Touchwell can successfully introduce consumer-entered storefront that improve engagement, strengthen brand loyalty, and create long-term competitive advantage. So, in references, there are the peer reviews sources to support my analysis and recommendation through the presentation. Thank you once again for your attention. Thank you for your time.